I think that Mickey, Donald, and Goofy's version of the Three Musketeers is more widely remembered than The Prince and the Pauper. That version of the Three Musketeers was even used in one of the Kingdom Hearts games. And it's pretty easy to figure out why that is. I mean, The Prince and the Pauper is a lot shorter, and The Three Musketeers was released by itself. The Prince and the Pauper played in front of The Rescuers Down Under, which is a bit of a lesser-known Disney film. If you liked Mickey's Three Musketeers, I think you'll probably like The Prince and the Pauper. And I say that with a little bit of uncertainty because it has been years and years since I watched The Prince and the Pauper. I remember liking it as a kid, at least. Let's see if I'll still like it now. Without the credits, this is about 24 minutes long. In my childhood memories, I thought of it as being a full-length film. I think that's because children have a warped perception of time. This is a very classic Disney opening. They even have that artsy font with it. This live-action storybook opening is very similar to a lot of openings of old Disney movies, like the older Disney princess movies and Ichabod and Mr. Toad. The Prince and the Pauper was made in 1990, I believe, which was obviously a long time after those movies. It's sort of the middle ground between those feature-length fairy tale retellings and the Mickey Mouse shorts from back in the day. Some of the really old Mickey Mouse shorts were examples of putting Mickey Mouse in the role of a fairy tale character. There's a section of the film called Fun and Fancy Free that was a retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy.
Saw his chance to rob and terrorize the people of England.
It was pretty dark for a Mickey Mouse film.
Why, one of these days we'll be eaten just like the king.
How typical that they live in this system where the poor starve and the rich flourish, and their ambition is to be one of the rich.
Like a king.
Like a king.
Like a king.
Captain Pete! Captain Pete! He's the vilest villain that you'd ever want to meet.
They were singing a modified version of the Mickey Mouse Club theme song. I don't think that the Mickey Mouse Club is on Disney+. It's weird how that song keeps being referenced to the point where it's outlasted the show it came from. Most people probably would have forgotten that the Mickey Mouse Club ever existed if it wasn't for that song. He didn't do anything that warranted being shot at 3 times. I forgot how much of a brat the prince was in this.
You know that your father is ill and requires rest and quiet.
And the ill king can definitely hear all the racket you're making that the tutor couldn't hear happening right behind him. He can certainly hear all that racket coming through the halls into his room. It's not like these castle walls are made of anything sturdy.
Local riffraff, sire.
Even the lowliest subjects of this kingdom deserve respect.
Where was your respect for Donald and your teacher a minute ago?
You allow me.
Did Pluto just vanish? Replay that in slow motion. That happens near the middle of the screen. I can't believe nobody noticed that. The idea is that Mickey, Donald, and Goofy are kind of like actors who can play different roles. So how do they explain there being 2 Mickeys to play different characters in this? It would have been a nice touch if they played along with the idea of Mickey being an actor playing both of them by having there be screen splitting like the old movies with one actor playing twins. Or they could do that thing where they have one person on screen, then you have the hands coming in from off screen, and they could have animated it like it's not actually Mickey's hand.
Oh, if I could take your place for just one day.
To govern, you need to say only one of 2 things. That's a splendid idea. I'm glad I thought of it. And guards, seize him!
If he only says those 2 things, then how many people has he wrongfully had seized?
I'm not sure this is a good idea. You'll do fine, Mickey. Goodbye, Mickey. Well,
No time for mutual agreement. We only have 14 minutes left.
Surely His Highness has not forgotten his royal duty.
One of his royal duties is wig master. I hope that royal duty is as important as tea time. I'm glad they don't spend too much time on this because honestly it's not very interesting. I'm of the opinion that we've seen fish out of water stuff so many times and it's never that great, so it's okay to skip over it. But if they couldn't bring themselves to skip it entirely, I will accept the consolation prize of only spending like 30 seconds on it. It's been a while since the weasels appeared in anything to my knowledge. I think the first time that the weasels appeared in any of Disney's stuff was The Wind in the Willows, which was included in Ichabod and Mr. Toad, or was it The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad? They were also in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I might be forgetting a more recent short they could have shown up in, but I'm not remembering anything recent that the weasels were in.
Your father is in his last hours and wishes to see you at once.
What were the two things I was supposed to say? Guard sees him! And then the guard sees him so he doesn't have to go see the king. And for an hour the king stared at the door saying, "Son, son, where are you?" And this is the type of stuff you never see from Mickey Mouse anymore.
I'll explain everything. The king will understand.
My son,
I'm not really the...
come closer. My son,
But...
from the day you were born, I have tried to prepare you for this moment. Promise me that you will rule the land from your heart, justly and wisely.
I promise.
That's a heavy thing for him. On one hand, he doesn't want to be deceptive, but on the other hand, the king thinks that he's getting to say his final words to his son, and Mickey thinks he should just let him have that moment, even if it's not real. From the king's perspective, it might as well be real. And you can sort of read into it that he can make it real by relaying this stuff to the prince.
Now it's up to me to right the wrongs I've seen. Children going hungry, corruption everywhere.
I think it speaks to the effect that the class hierarchy has, that at the beginning of the film, Mickey and Goofy were not wanting to change the system where the poor suffer because they've been brought up to think that this is how things are supposed to be. But the prince, having seen how bad things are for the poor, wants to make things better for them because he's thinking that it's not supposed to be this way. At the beginning of the film, he thought that the poor were happier than he is, and now that he knows they're not happy, he knows that they should be happy instead of just wanting to get back to the happy high-class place. There was a split second where you could see Mom written on the back of his boxers. It's weird that they had that much attention to detail and yet they didn't catch Pluto vanishing. You never see this type of slapstick anymore in modern movies and TV shows. This is why we were so mad at Wish for trying to pass itself off as a return to the old stuff, when it clearly had none of the hilarious visuals that we used to get in the old stuff. It was pretty good. It's pretty short, obviously, but they squeezed a lot in there. It only kind of had a deep story, but I feel like this movie proves that you can have a deeper story with Mickey, Donald, and Goofy that still has all those cartoonisms. It doesn't have to be Mickey, Donald, and Goofy that you have these cartoonisms in. I think modern Disney films have lost the old ways of physical comedy.
Roll for the ship! Roll for the ship! I beg your pardon.
But this, it seemed, was easier said than done.
Quiet!
If it were 1 man and 3 beans, but no, 1 bean and 3 men.
I can't stand it!
He says he's all right, but I wonder.
Why is a raven like a writing desk?
Why you the what? Careful. She's stark raven mad.
But it's your silly riddle. You just said...
Daddy, don't get excited. How about a nice cup of tea?
Have a cup of tea, indeed.
2 spoons, thank you, yes.
Please, be careful. Jam?
Jam, I forgot all about jam.
Here it comes. Now's our chance. Get it now. Give it to him. Don't let it get away. That. Treason! But it's true, sire. All we could find was this glass slipper. The whole thing was a plot. But sire...
I don't know if they don't know how to do it at all, or they just don't know how to do it in 3D animation, or if they do know how to do it but they think it'll mess with the film's tone. These days, Mickey Mouse is used pretty much just for toddler shows, and they stopped making the shorts recently. Come to think of it, the only upcoming Mickey Mouse project from Disney that I know of is Epic Mickey Rebrushed, which, don't get me wrong, I'm very excited for Epic Mickey Rebrushed. However, that's a remastering of something that was made a while ago, so I'm not sure if you can count it as evidence that they're still using Mickey Mouse to his full potential. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, and remember the old ways.